What was the dumbest rule your school enforced? Conservative Christian college. A group of us played Age of Empires one weekend. They didn't like it and called a meeting. Everyone involved got misdemeanors on their records. There was nothing in the handbook about it being against the rules. The only person that didn't get any punishment was the son of the president, even though he was just as involved as the rest of us. Was quite interesting explaining the write-up on my record when I transferred. You got a misdemeanor for what? Edit, they made it a rule after the fact, and did this several other times with things such as nail polish or radio control helicopters. Sounds like a bunch of pathetic adults who have no real power in their lives, so they have to conjure it up over some young students. Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. In my freshman year of high school we had a terrible vandalism problem. The bathrooms would be broken in various ways almost constantly. In a stroke of pure genius, the staff decided that any bathroom that was vandalized would be closed for the week on first offense, the quarter for second, and permanently on the third offense. They took back the rule after closing every bathroom on day 1. Holy shit, recently at my high school someone stole a fucking urinal. I have no clue how someone manages to do that. That takes some Ocean's 11 level planning right there. In elementary, they banned running in alley. No running on the playground either. They also banned all ball sports and would take your ball if you took it in from home, and they would put it in the gym cupboard to be used during PE class, physical education. Keep in mind that these were 4 to 11-year-olds. So everyone ignored the rules, and so many were in detention. I'm not sure what we called it. That they had to drop the rule and nothing came of that, but the second rule about ball sports? Well, it turned out that one of the kids in the year below me had bought an aside soccer ball by a really famous player, and the school took it and kept it. We found out because there was a very angry mother screaming at the secretary that they effectively stole something that could be worth upwards of $1,000. They obviously gave back the ball and stopped stealing them after that. Who would have thought that stealing from little kids was a bad idea? School added thumbprint scanners at gates of school which counted as registration. Needless to say, I would just walk to school, scan my thumb, and walk back home with them none the wiser. Was a great few months until they noticed. Months. I managed to not go to school for a month one time before anyone called home. I thought it was pretty good, but I'm impressed someone made it months. Though with the way some schools are, it isn't too surprising. Took all the doors off the men's room bathroom stalls because of vandalism for 2 months. Same at my school. But for all 4 years, we had no TP or mirrors either. No TP. What did you use then? If I had to poo, I'd walk home. Legit, if that happened at my high school, I'd just leave school midday. If you gotta go, you gotta go. Don't tell me I gotta wait fucking 3 more hours until I can empty my bowels, or I'll empty them on top of a desk in the middle of class. Locked bathroom doors in the period after lunch. You should have gone at lunch. Also banned duct tape accessories back when that was a trend. They said it was gang activity. You should have gone at lunch. I didn't have to go at lunch. You still should have gone at lunch in case you needed to go. I didn't know I would need to go. One of my middle school teachers. No backpacks to class, but purses were allowed. Girls started carrying around purses big enough to be considered a backpack. Guys got pissed, started carrying purses too. I'd wear my backpack on my front and call it a front pack. A really big fanny pack. Prom was a mandatory lockdown for the night in order to avoid students going to parties after prom. Prom was held at various house parties across town instead. I hate it when schools shove their noses into everyone else's business. My school would do that all the time. You get caught with weed or alcohol or even something less "bad" outside of school on your own time. The school would hear about it and you got punished at school. One of my friends got expelled for smoking a cigarette off of school property on a weekend. Teacher caught him outside the mall. In 6th grade they switched out all student chairs for large rubber stability balls. There was a strict no bouncing rule. It was a disaster. Edit. This was in Arizona in the late 90s for those asking. The idea was to promote better posture. This wouldn't work with any age group, let alone 6th graders. Actually, we have those in one classroom in HS. Only because the teacher who has classes there is a bit nuts. At first everyone was bouncing on them, but we got bored of it after some time. These bouncy balls are supposedly good for your back, and I love them. But it would be an absolute nightmare in primary school. They're good for your back if you also have an option to sit on something with a backrest to let your back muscles relax. 8 hours of constantly stabilizing yourself is not the greatest idea. Oh yeah, definitely. I wouldn't be able to stand up after a longer time period of sitting on them. We weren't allowed to play tag football at lunch, only frisbee. When I asked the principal what the difference was, he responded with a sarcastic tone. A football is round and a frisbee is a flat disc. He left the school later that year, went to another school, and a few years later was brought up on charges for failing to report the abuse of a student by a teacher. I wonder how these people get their jobs, and how they sleep at night. They don't sleep. They furiously masturbate all night to the paragraph sign. My school banned backpacks at one point. To protest, boys just didn't bring anything with them to class and girl brought really big purses. One of the funnier things that happened because of it was an interaction between my friend and a teacher. Where's your book, friend? In my backpack, teacher. And where is that, friend? At home. You couldn't wear any kind of head items that were gang colors red or blue. This included hairbands, scrunches, beads in your hair, ribbons, anything. I got in trouble for wearing a blue hairband with white polka dots. Don't joke about the polka dot cartel. What a great band name. My high school mascot was Daniel Boone holding a musket. A kid wore a Guns N' Roses shirt to school and was told he had to change shirts because of the pistols on the shirt. He pointed out the hypocrisy of the school mascot, and they changed everything. The mascot was switched to holding a flagpole instead. Every instance of the mascot was changed from the multiple signs outside and around the school to the giant picture in the middle of our basketball stadium. Holden, you're a fucking legend for this. Hey, at least this shows a consistent internal logic and lack of hypocrisy on the part of school admin, although definitely a lack of self-awareness too. Holy shit. Our mascot is a school shooter. How did we not notice? We had to wear belts. Someone snitched that people weren't wearing belts under their sweaters, and they actually checked, and a bunch of people got detentions. Stupid. We had belt raids at my school, where the dean would burst into classes, completely interrupting any education, to check that everyone was wearing a belt. We gotta understand him though. How could you possibly learn anything without a belt on to retain the information? I've read this comment like 8 times, and I still have no idea what the fuck it said. Where's my damn belt? Make sure you are wearing your learning belt, and not your gang belt. No jackets. They think we may hide things like phones or bombs there. I hope you grew up in Hawaii. Thanks for the upvotes and awards, unknown humans. Nope. Grew up in Indonesia. Does Hawaii have such rules too? Hawaii is known for good weather. Lol, my kids go to an elementary school in Hawaii and they've banged hats and hoods on jackets/hoodies. Why? No idea. Apparently shading your face is not okay. Or someone had a tragic hat accident back in the day. Can't wear too many matching shirts because you could be a gang. This was in regards to a kid with cancer wanting to make a bunch of shirts. My high school was in freaking Nebraska. American schools seem to be obsessed with the idea of gangs. They really are. My public school in the 90s tried to make us wear private school style uniforms. Avoiding gang colors was big argument for this. This was an affluent school in the suburbs. Schools will latch onto any perceived potential transgression to enforce authoritarian rules, which is how you end up with teen girls carrying ibuprofen for period cramps being treated like heroin traffickers. If Billy wears blue and sees Tommy wearing red, we could have a goddamn turf war on our hands. Hayden and Braden. All the kids, 6th or 7th grade, started putting pink laces in their shoes. Don't know why, but the school officials banned colored laces, saying pink is a gang color. It's Britney. Bitch shanks another student. They decided everything bad happened in the last 5 minutes of lunch, so it got 5 minutes shorter each year. Any group more than 5 had to be up to no good, so no groups over 5. Edit. This was not some big city. Public school for troubled kids. It was a tiny Catholic school in a tiny farming town. The worst offense. By a student. Of the whole time I was there was some kid walking across the street to get a soda from a store. Oh us? This is just 2 groups of 3. School. Ban them. It's clearly a gang war now. Don't tell the Poplar. Cartel. They'll ya up. Circa 1994, 1997 no hugging. Like at all. First offense was a write-up. Second was detention. Third was in-school suspension. Ah yes. The 90s and 2000s. When the hippie kids born in the 50s and 60s had midlife crisis and decided to become the very thing they swore to destroy, just to spite a generation for being younger than them at that point. Involved in a fight. Same punishment regardless of fault, and this led to more dangerous fights due to everyone just going for it. Saw people use chairs, cricket bats and anything just to hand. Getting expelled from the school was really hard as it was the last chance school in the area, and after that it was the special reform school. My high school did this. And it was not the last chance school, just a normal public high school. It was such a dumb rule. I got in trouble once for this because I defended myself. Like WTF. Yeah, this whole zero tolerance thing has got to go. It does matter who instigated the fight and no one should ever be punished for defending themselves. Not sure why schools have such a hard time figuring that out. I didn't defend myself and was suspended for getting punched. In response, my parents had a meeting with the principal where they told me to not stop fighting while the other kids were still conscious. The principal's face was priceless. If you're going to get suspended, might as well make it with it. My wife's school has a rule that if you were a guy you couldn't fight back until the other kids had hit you 3 times. You can imagine how that went. So you get 2 free hits, as long as you don't hit them a 3rd time. Diplomatic immunity. You got in trouble if you wore just a Hanes white t-shirt after school because you were in your underwear. Might as well just wear your literal underwear to make a statement, or just strip entirely. We can't use black pens. Like why? Back in the day, all photocopies were black ink only. Black pens could be used to alter/forge documents. Some legal transactions required blue pen signatures for originals. I had a job where I was required to fill out my timesheet in blue ink. The company was so cheap that they didn't provide pens. Every Friday my coworkers and I would have to track down a blue pen and fill out our timesheets at that person's desk because nobody would ever let you walk away with one. My high school banned t-shirts that had the cover of Rush's album Signals, an album popular at the time, which features an image of a dog sniffing a fire hydrant. They considered it scatological because the dog was about to pee on it. This struck the entire student body as extremely stupid, and roughly 1/2 of the student body picked a day to wear the t-shirt. We won. Imagine how terrible it would be if kids found out that dogs pee. Yeah, right. Oh my dog. He's about to pee. Shoes are to be worn as the manufacturer intended. I have no clue who was wearing their shoes incorrectly or how, but this line, verbatim, was repeated to us over the morning announcements when there were perceived infractions at various points throughout the year. Maybe people were drawing on their shoes. I did that. And I feel like that's the point of having cons. All you had to do then was manufacture your own. Decorate it however you wanted. We actually had folks do this in a hunting town with a native resin hour away. It's easy to learn how to make handmade moccasins. We didn't have the rule about shoes must be worn yada yada. But still, nearly everyone had leather moccasins. And we'd wear them during our school's Spirit Week. As that also happened to be our Native History Week, we wore them as a sign that we all knew a good bit about it already, as our town is half native. If you were involved in a fight, you got suspended. While it sounds reasonable, context didn't matter. I got suspended once, not for throwing a single punch, kick, whatever. I got suspended because someone knocked the books out of my hand, and when I reached down to grab them, they punched me in the face. I got suspended for walking down the hallway and unprovoked getting punched in the face. Fuck Brandon Valley Middle School. My buddy got suspended for something similar. His Marine Corps MP mother told him in no uncertain terms that if anyone tried that shit again, earn that suspension. Surprise surprise. The dude tried that again, and he went ham on that kid. Busted nose, torn ear, black and blue for weeks. The fallout was exactly the same as not fighting back at all, except my buddy got a pat on the back from his mom and a new video game. Tell you what, no one tried that with him again. If it wasn't zero tolerance, then it wouldn't be a problem. Someone gives you some physical trouble and they get punished. Easy peasy. They've got cameras everywhere. Surely it would be pretty easy to see. Isn't it ironic that zero tolerance policies actually encourage violence? Zero tolerance isn't about stopping violence. It's about preventing administration from having to make a decision. It's about protecting school administration from possible liability of making a decision. It's completely about protecting the school. Nothing at all to do with protecting the kids. They banned the word snap, since everyone used it instead of shit. So we all just started saying shit. The snap ban lasted about 3 days. Shit, my pencil snapped, I mean shat. Bro, someone just took a giant snap in the urinal. You gotta check this snap out. We were all given these ugly planners at the beginning of the school year, with a few pages at the back filled with hall passes. If you didn't have your planner, or if all your boxes were filled, you weren't allowed to go to the bathroom. And no, you couldn't buy a new planner, or borrow one from your friend. The only excuse you had was if you had a doctor's note, but no doctor is going to give a note for an upset stomach caused by the school lunch. Oh wow, I totally forgot about this until you said this. We had those too. Some teachers gave extra credit to kids who never used any of their hall passes. I went to a school that had block scheduling, so our classes were 2 hours long. Pretty messed up that we were incentivized to never use the bathroom. Now that I think back on that. God, my middle school did too. You had a page of hall passes and I think you had like 6 for a quarter. You could use them to go to your bathroom or your locker if you forgot your homework or something. If you didn't use them, you got extra credit. I think I used one once the whole time I was in middle school because I had forgotten my homework in my locker. I later developed Crohn's disease around age 17, and I'm terrified to think what that would have been like in middle school pre-diagnosis, and thus pre-doctor's note. I know people with Crohn's, and it has the potential to dictate your life depending on the severity. I hope you're doing alright. I was prescribed metformin when I was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome as an adult, and I don't know how I would have made it in high school with limited bathroom passes. Working remotely due to COVID has made me realize how much less stressful it is to know I have reliable access to a bathroom when I need. The $200 blazer was compulsory, and we got detention every single day until we got it. We have 3 uniforms at our school: summer, winter, and pet, and altogether they probably cost around $600 odd. It's insane. I'm convinced schools are just elaborate money-making systems. In grade 8, we were banned from standing in circles at recess because of potential scandalous activity going on in the middle. We stood in squares instead. For a while in my school, groups of kids would stand in circles shouting fight, 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 until a teacher came to break up the non-existent fight. God, we were assholes. I wish my students would do imaginative and actually kinda funny stuff like this, rather than the incomprehensibly childish and boring regular kid stuff that's as tedious to solve as it's embarrassing to all involved. Edit. If one of you guys is responsible for the fake fire alarm today, that's not what I meant equals. My favorite prank was when we held my friend's boots out of the 3rd floor window. We were all yelling and crying when the teacher came in because it looked like she was attached to them. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Blackmore. My friend told me whenever they would get a sub-teacher in, the whole class would turn their desks around and face the back. But they played it off so well the sub didn't know if it was a prank or just the genuine layout of the classroom, even though the board was clearly behind them. They banned wristwatches. No one knows what the reason was. That's when you go full Flavor Flav and wear a timepiece around your neck instead. If you are new to TattleTale TV, please subscribe. We have new videos every day. Stay tuned for more coming up next.